Welcome to On the Bubble Podcast, episode 78. I'm your host, Subasa J. Witt, and with me is my co-host, Yuki Lee Bender. Today, we're going to be talking about Canadian Nationals and how we did this weekend, and the BNR announcement that came up right after the Canadian Nationals, and which wrapped up all of the Nationals now this week. And I guess to start off, how did you do at CanNats this week, Yuki?
Things went really well for me. I finished XM2 day one, and then I went 2-1 in Swiss on day two, which put me into top eight. And then I lost eventually in top eight to a Zen, who was Kevin Constantino, who ended up going to the finals and losing in a Zenmir ultimately. So yeah, very good weekend, good showing. I'm sure we'll go into more detail about like how the tournament went and like some of the rounds and stuff. But yeah, pretty like overall pretty satisfied with the result. I will say that I like the change of shifting the world's invite down to 12th. So everybody who's 12th and up gets a world's qualification, which I think is really cool because previously bubbling felt pretty bad. I do think that specifically like 5th through 8th feels like I really don't want to complain because I'm very happy with the result, but also just like it feels a little bit bad compared to before because they removed the gold foil. And I'm like, man, I feel like I did really well, and I like lost a match. I just like lost the gold foil for it. I guess like the difference between like 5th through 8th and 9th through 12th is like very small. Although I guess like if you're 5th through 8th, you get the option to like play more and potentially win more prizes. But if you lose in quarters, it is like a little bit of a. I was like, this feels a little underwhelming.
What really feels bad about this year's CanNats was actually the people who had 9 points was actually up to ninth place. So Aiden and Barnsley was on, I think, what is the Light Warrior called?
Bolton? Was he on Bolton?
Yeah, he was on Bolton and he bubbled out ninth with nine match wins.
Oh, that does feel bad.
So there was like this huge hype about Bolton making top eight, and then we look at the top cut and he actually bubbled out, and it looked I'm pretty sure it was Aiden at least that was playing Bolton, and it was everyone was quite sad that Bolton didn't make the top eight this time.
Yeah, that is sad. There's always like some potential for bubbles, and there's no way to fix it. And I do think extending 9th through 12th is like pretty good. I kind of liked when they just gave gold foils for all of top eight, honestly. But maybe there was just like too many gold foils going on the market, and they were like worried about diluting their value or whatever. But I feel like Canadian Nationals is like reasonably large and pretty challenging field, and like I don't know. It's just like a bit of a surprise, or maybe it's just because like it used to be there and like now it isn't, and it's just like it's gone.
I think it's like both up and downside. Like top 12 getting the world's invite now is a little bit better, but yeah, losing the gold flow is kind of huge for top eight. So
Yeah. So it's definitely like oh, I made top eight. Oh, I paid for my trip, I guess, which is like better than nothing, but it was like a bit of like a okay.
one more thing that I wanted to talk about before we move on was so I was also at CanNats, and I kind of wish that they paid 25th place instead of 24th place. That's mostly because I came in 25th this year and it paid out top 24 for cash on breakers. So 23rd is our good local Lucas Ing. And then Lucas comes up to me and be like, yo, did you see where you placed? And I'm like, no. What place did I get? Because I was like already playing the side event PTI event on that by that time. And he's like, you're 25th, bro. And I'm like, no, that can't be. Losing the last round of the CanNats to come 25th feels awful. I had 7 wins and 21st to I'm not sure how far it went down to, but starting from the 21st is all 7 wins, and I bubbled out on breakers. It felt awful.
Yeah, that definitely is a bit of a feels bad. I think there was quite a few of them. Yeah, all the way down to 35th was 7 wins.
I see. But that was a heartbreaker, a big heartbreaker, because like $225 is like it kind of pays for most of my trip, and coming 25th means that it doesn't pay for my trip, and it's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, so I don't know. Overall, Nats went pretty well for both of us, I think. Maybe it just landed at slightly awkward pricing where you were like just out of min cash and I was like sort of the funny thing is like when you're eighth and you lose, it's like you came in ninth because I think like ninth is like $275 and then I think eighth is like $400 and you're like, okay, this is fine, I guess. I got the privilege to like get smashed by somebody in top eight. But yeah, overall very good weekend for both of us and very happy with the results and I think Canadian Nationals is still like one of my favorite events of the whole year. It's just very cool bringing together all the like distant parts of Canada because Canada's so big geographically that we don't get to see like the people on the East Coast all that often. But it's always fun to like get together with them, hang out. We were just like in an Airbnb with Jay and I stayed in the same Airbnb with like a whole bunch of like Aaron Chant, Sean Dollywall. Michael Jaziker wasn't staying with us, but was like in the Airbnb and like hanging out. A whole bunch of people came by. It was just like a really fun weekend overall.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun in that Airbnb. It was an experience to say. A lot more SpongeBob memes than I thought there would be in that room, but man, those guys love their SpongeBob memes.
Yeah, yeah, they do. The Toronto boys are a rowdy crew.
Very rowdy. I love them so much.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. They're a ton of fun to hang out with. They're great. So it's yeah, that's like one of the fun things about Canadian Nationals is just getting to chill with them. And I feel like every year it's like I know them a little bit better than the previous year because like the first year I didn't know any of them at all. But yeah, now we're just like at the same Airbnb, just like talking about our decks for nationals. We've been like testing separately the whole time, and we're just like, yeah, what are you playing? We're just like showing each other our decks. It's very chill. It's very fun.
I guess let's talk about what you actually played and how you did in the CC portion and the draft portion separately then.
Sure. So I took Zen. The Zen list was very, very close to what was posted on the Patreon. I think I cut an Orion for a second shifting winds because I wanted the extra block 3, and I figured they're both good when you have lots of chi in hand. And then I think I cut wind chakras for this round's on me for the mirror, which was decent. I think I might have won me a game. I think it won me a game, and I think it was very good in a game that was close, but I still lost versus Sunny in the last round, who ended up going on to become our new Canadian national champion. So congrats to Sunny. But yeah, I was recently happy with the changes. Overall, was like very minor. I might post like a small, like maybe just a link to the deck without the sideboard because my original plan was to try and like flesh out the sideboard guide for everyone, but of course we have a new BNR, which we'll be talking about later, and the deck's going to shift a little bit again. So I probably won't post a sideboard guide for this one and instead post a sideboard guide for the updated list. But yeah, just like pretty stock standard Zen. Deck is really good. I think kind of like undeniably busted. We saw 6 Zen in the top 8 of Canadian Nationals. And honestly, I like didn't really even feel like that big of a surprise, at least to me. Yeah, the deck was just disgusting all weekend. I think we had 6 rounds of CC, so I went 4-2 in CC and Swiss, and my only losses were the mirror. And then I lost to Zen in top 8. So I basically only lost to Zen. I had games against like Azalea, New, one other deck, Prism, like all these like perceived bad matchups for Zen. And honestly, I don't think I lost any of those games with less than like 20 life. I think my deck treated me well. I think I ran very well, but I think that like the deck is just so powerful and undisputably the best deck going into the weekend. And I think the deck's still very good after the BNR. We can talk about that more later on in the podcast. But yeah, very happy with my deck choice. Not happy with the type of games it created. It's not the most interesting when you just like kill people on turn 2 or 3 over and over again. But yeah, deck was great.
Yeah, Zen was that was just a monster this weekend. Like I feel like a lot of the top tables were just all Zen players. I guess I'll talk about the deck that I brought. I actually went so I'm kind of sad about this result. I actually went 5-1 in CC with my new deck. It's basically the exact same list as the list that I played for the Battle Hardened list that is also on Patreon, but I've cut the Mask of Recurring Nightmares and played one Censor instead. This now one Censor is now cut again for something else that I'm not sure yet, but for Cannats, I just didn't have Mask of Recurring Nightmares in my list at all, and I had a Spellfray Tiara instead of it, which was honestly pretty good and let me survive against one of my Kano matchups, which was very important. So I went 5-1 in CC, and I didn't make top eight because I bombed one of my drafts and ended up going 2-4 in the draft portion. I guess moving on. This is the first time I've owed 3 a draft in like maybe 2 years or 3 years. It must be at least 3 years since I've owed 3 to draft in Flesh and Blood.
Is this like at a ranked event or just like period, counting like Armory and Draft Camp?
Oh, I did go 0-2 in one of the draft camps. I was passing out because I didn't have enough sleep. Not counting the games where I'm not barely awake, I'd have it 0-3 to a single draft, including armories, draft camps, and like just rated events in general until this weekend. I was very disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely feels bad. I'm trying to think about when I've 0-3. I think I've definitely 0-3 to draft, but it's like not. I can't even think of when it was. Like, it's not a common occurrence. I think that Jay and I are in the same boat of usually at least being able to get a 1-2 and very very often a 2-1.
Yeah, I don't remember the last time you went 0-3 either, but like man, it's like when we put so much time into draft and limited and then you end up going 0-3, it just feels so bad. And like when I was coming into Canadian Nationals, my goal was to be like, I'm gonna 5-1 draft and X2 CC to try and top eight, and if I X3 CC, I probably don't make top eight, but that was okay. And then it just like flipped on me, and I went 5-1 in CC and then 2-4 in draft, and I was like so much more disappointed than anything. Yeah, my CC games were crazy too because like I played against like 4 or 5 bad matchups throughout the weekend, and I'm just like I barely beat everyone. And then oh my god, my drafts were not good.
That's definitely rough. I know you put in like way more CC prep than before, and I think you started out 3-0 in the CC portion. Is that right?
Yeah, I started 3-0 day one. I beat an Enigma, I beat the Numir, and then I beat Kano, which is my worst matchup for the new deck.
Yeah, when you went 3-0 in CC and then you 2-1 your first draft, I was like, in my head, I was like, I think Jay's gonna top eight this year. Like, from that spot, like I just felt like you were like very likely to top eight because I was like, you probably get like at least a 2-1, then you're 7-2, and then you just need to get like a 2-1 in CC, and like that seems pretty doable. So I thought that you would like top eight or come very, very close to top eight. And then I talked to you and you were like, yeah, my draft didn't go well. Maybe let's talk about that. What hero did you draft and what do you think went wrong? Like how did you get into this 0-3 seat?
Just talking about my second draft, which is the one that I 0-3'd, I ended up drafting New. I think this draft pod was kind of unique. This was on pod one of day one, so it is with very strong drafters and just very strong players in general. So I'm not saying like I should have 1-2'd or 2-1'd, but I think what happened was that the overall power level of the cards that were in the packs were a little bit lower than what the average would be. So the breakdown of the pod was actually 4 New, 2 Zen, and 2 Enigma. And the 2 Zen decks would typically look or seem to be the most powerful decks, but in this pod, after looking at like Sean Dollywall's Zen deck, it didn't look to be like a very powerful Zen deck like a 2 of Zen would usually look like. So I was kind of surprised to see like when I was in the drafting process, I didn't move into Zen to become the third Zen because I wasn't seeing powerful Zen cards. And I think that was just because powerful Zen cards weren't being opened. And then that's also the same to say for Enigma. Powerful Enigma cards weren't being opened, but was getting aggressively cut by one of the players in the drafting pod because their strategy was to force Enigma, and which ended up doing pretty well for them. And I was in a very awkward seat where I was in between the two news, and every time I got past the pack, the best card in the pack was just a red stealth card, a a blue inducement, um things like I got one venomous bite. So like looking at individual parts together, my deck kind of looked okay, but I immediately knew during the drafting process that like this deck is gonna be weak and I'm gonna have troubles. And mostly in pack two when cards that I thought should be showing up in my packs weren't, which indicated the person on my left was also one new. And after talking to him after the draft, I found out that like early in pack one, he got a couple of new rares that he picked up early, and then he stuck with after picking generics. So, which is why he was still a new. The person to my right was a new, and then I was also a new, picking up like red stealth cards and blue stealth cards, 3 blocks, and generics. So, I'm actually not sure what I could have done other than the one pick that I regret full heartedly, which was Cosmic Awakening.
Did you pick it or pass it?
I ended up passing Cosmic Awakening,
Oh,
and I ended up picking up a red stealth card instead, because I felt like my new deck was going to be lacking, and I needed the red stealth cards to pair with my red attack reactions. And I didn't have that many chi in my pool at this point. I had one chi in my pool at this point. But what ended up happening was I should have picked this Cosmic Awakening and did a small pivot towards like a chi heavy deck.
yeah.
And then I would have gotten rewarded in the end of pack two, because in pack two, pick 7, I saw a foil Cosmic Awakening as well. So I could have had a
Oh,
2
hey.
Cosmic Awakening deck with like 8 or 9 chi if I just aggressively drafted the chis. But I didn't do this, and I tried to go for like a more consistent new deck, and that kind of shot me in the foot, and I was very disappointed about this draft.
That kind of surprises me to hear that card going around. That is a card I'm extremely high on. I think it's really, really good. Yeah, definitely sounds like you had the potential for a pretty spicy deck. I feel like, especially if my draft was like a little bit low power, I feel like Cosmic Awakening is just like a blue block 3 that gives you it's like a game plan in and of itself. So yeah, maybe a bit of a hindsight here because I'm hearing the story from you, but yeah, it definitely sounds like the Cosmic Awakening could have helped your deck out a lot and maybe given you the ability to like win a game or something.
Yeah, I think if I picked the Cosmic Awakening, my deck would have been in a spot where I get to go 1-2, maybe even 2-1, depending on how my cards line up in the games. Honestly, big regret. I really should have spec'd on the Cosmic Awakening, and even if it doesn't come together, I would have like it's still a playable blue 3 block, and I should have taken the risk there because I knew my hero is getting cut.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I just think in general, Cosmic Awakening is like if I see that at the Pro Tour, very hard for me to pass that card. That card's nuts. Maybe if it's like late, if it's like mid pack 2 and I'm really low on chi or something, but if I see it anytime pack 1, I'm probably slamming it.
Yeah, I kind of wish I saw it on pack one. But this
Mhm.
was like pick 3 or 4 in pack two.
Sure.
So, and I was like kind of low on like good reds. So I
Yeah, yeah.
was like, if I had more time during the drafting process, because it was a called draft, I was looking at Cosmic Awakening and the red stealth card, and then they said draft. So I had just made a pick, and it was the
Yeah,
red stealth card. And like,
gotcha.
if I had the Cosmic Awakening in front of the pack, I probably would have slammed the Cosmic Awakening instead. But it was like, yeah, it's like the biggest regret I have for that weekend is not picking the Cosmic Awakening and trying to make a powerful game plan inside my deck instead of like kind of doing nothing the whole game on all my matchups.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Um, any last thoughts about this draft, or do you want to go into some of the other drafts that we did?
No, nothing else. I think I talked long and I thought hard about this draft for a couple of days, and it was a disappointing one, mostly this happened at Can Nats. But you know what?
Totally.
Next year, we'll improve, we'll get better, and then we'll draft a little bit better.
Definitely makes a lot of sense. Okay, I'll touch briefly on my drafts. My first draft was a 3-0 Enigma draft with 3 Enigmas in the pod. My pod was also a little bit weird. I had some people that weren't that familiar with draft, like they said as much, and it did make some of the like signals and things a little bit strange. The power level of the pack was also just weak, and I kind of did what it sounds like one of your neighbors did, where I was just like on generic and mystic cards for most of pack one, and I was like, I'm either like I'm not Zen because there's just no Zen cards being passed to me, so like I'm definitely not Zen. And like news kind of being cut, but there's like kind of good cards, but I also kind of passed some of them because I didn't want to get into new for like so cards. And then like I have some Enigma cards, but they're like not good Enigma cards. Like I had like a blue Vengeful Apparition and like a yellow Waxing Spectre, and it's just like this is not good. Like I'm seeing like Enigma cards come around late, so it feels like the hero's open. There's just like no good Enigma cards. And then I end up going pack 2, getting a red Waxing Spectre, pack 1, pick 1, and then like I'm cut during pack 2, and like my Enigma deck's not that good, and I'm like pretty worried at this point, honestly, because like I have like a red Waxing Spectre. I have some very good generics because I was picking generics pack 1. I have like red Blanche, red Fact Finding Mission. I have like that stuff, but I don't have like the Go Again auras, which are super important. And then I just get super hooked up in pack 3, opening red Spectral Manifestation, then getting past red Waxing Spectre, then red Spectral Manifestation, then another red Spectral Manifestation. And it turns out that basically just like, so the 3 people to my right all opened a red Go Again aura in Enigma and weren't drafting Enigma. And then the 4th person to my right was an Enigma. And then the 5th person to my right was Enigma. So they was just like exactly in the right spot so that I got all the red Go Again cards, which like, I guess like partially I got rewarded for like recognizing that Enigma was open to my right, but also just like I got lucky that the packs were like where they were at the table, and I just got like all the red Go Again, so my deck was kind of nuts. It didn't really block, but I just like hit people super hard, and it was like a pretty clean 3-0. The deck was like kind of busted, honestly.
Yeah, that seems like a ideal draft pod. Man, I wish I got to do that. I wish I saw a red Waxing Spectre.
Yeah, so it was definitely like a weird draft where I like stayed open for a very long time, and I could have seen myself winding up in new, potentially had things broken a little bit differently. But yeah, so there are some weird drafts in this format. I wish I could have like a log of that one and go through it, but I don't have it. My second draft, I ended up new. I think I was the 3rd new. I had the best seat for new by a fair bit. My deck was honestly like very solid. A little bit low on pick to pieces. I think I had like 3 of them, but otherwise very solid. And I managed to 2-1 with that deck. There's a stream game, I think in round 7, where I play against Matthew Dilks. I think it's the backup match. He's playing Zen, and I end up losing that game. I guess spoiler, I end up losing that game. But it's very close. I very nearly get there, and it's a pretty good match. So if you're interested, go check it out. It may not appear close because he's at like 5 and I'm just like basically losing most of my hand, but I basically get to a spot where like if I have one more life, I'm able to transcend there, and if I have one more life, I'm able to play his blues, and I'm able to use my boots and do push something like 16 damage, which should be more than enough when he's at 5 and he's like has like probably multiple no blocks in his deck because we're both getting very low on cards. So I think I would have been able to get there ultimately, but yeah, just how it goes.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So what was your final record on new again?
2-1. I think I beat Enigma, and I won a new mirror as well. Both of those games, I just kind of fatigued them. I had like I didn't have that many red attack reactions. I had like some generics, but not that many. I just had like a lot of really good red stealth, and I kind of just like slowly fatigued people. It's like kind of all my deck could do. But honestly, I've been kind of liking this style of deck. I think the exact list is posted on the Bubble Patreon. Like I have like just enough red attack reacts that I think that the deck like kind of works. I wouldn't mind having like one more, or something, honestly. But yeah, it was just kind of nice. Like I had like a red venomous bite, red intimate inducement, yellow venomous bite, and then oh, I did have some good generics. I had like 2 emissaries and 2 fact finding missions, and then just like a bunch of red stealth, like 7 red stealth, and like yeah, you just kind of like grind people out. It's pretty satisfying.
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. What else is there to talk about in Canadian Nationals?
I don't think there's too much. We kind of mentioned top eight briefly. We ended up getting so in the finals we had a Zen mirror between Sunny Young and Kevin Constantino. Sunny ends up taking down the entire event. I know he's been playing Katsu for a long time, and his like knowledge of the class I think shows in some of his gameplay. So very well deserved. I got to play him in the last round of Swiss, and I got kind of crushed. I mean, actually, it was like a more interesting Zen mirror, to be honest. It's like one of the closer ones. I think that game that mirror can be a real blowout. That game was like on the closer side, but I did end up losing. Then in third and fourth place, we have Michael Metello on Victor Goldmane, as well as Sean Dollywall on Zen. So Victor kind of in a great spot to be able to potentially take down the tournament, just feasting on Zens. But there is you can see the top eight match on coverage. Sunny just does an excellent job of navigating it and finding a good opportunity to pop off and get a life lead. And then in fifth through eighth, we see Tarek Patel on Zen, Daniel Dreitziger on New, who I think was 11-1 in Swiss and first seed, which is like super, super impressive. And then like he has a game against Sean Dollywall where he just gets completely blown out. He has like disruption that lands on Sean's mask turn and still just takes like 25 damage through his blocks. It's like so disgusting.
Yeah, showing how Zen can be disgusting, right?
Yeah. I think that was just like such a great showcase of like why Zen is so strong is you just like find the right hand where it's like, yeah, you can rip a card from me. I don't really care. I have enough redundancy and enough power in my hand that even after you rip a card from me, I'm going to do way too much damage and you're not going to be able to catch back up. So definitely like a very good draw from Sean, but also like well navigated and just like a show of like how Zen can win these kind of perceived bad matchups. I think more consistently than some people think. Then rounding out top eight, we have Hunter Platt and then myself on Zen as well. So 6 Zen, 1 New, 1 Victor was the top eight of CanNats, and the finals was a Zen mirror.
Once again, congrats on Sunny Yang destroying everyone with Zen, and yeah, he had a really great record in draft 2, I would assume, right? Because he had 10 wins in the Swiss rounds.
I'm not exactly sure where his losses were. I think he was X1.
He was in my second draft pod, so he must have 3-0'd his. Oh, he 3-0'd his first pod, and I think he 2-1'd his second pod because Sunny was the new passing to me directly on my right, and we all train wrecked each other. So, yep.
Yeah. I think he was X1 going into his CC rounds, and then I think he lost to either Daniel or Michael Metello. Well, the victor, the new that made top eight. I think he ended up losing to one of those two, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong, but anyways. Yeah. So that was Canadian Nationals. Maybe we can touch briefly on week 3 of Nationals and kind of Nationals overall. Week 3, Classic Constructed National Championships. We have Zen with 6 wins, New with 4 wins, Dash Inventor Extraordinaire with 2 wins, and then 4 heroes all with 1 win. Those heroes are Azalea Ace in the Hole, Dorenthia Iron Song, Prism Awakener of Soul, and Victor Goldmane High and Mighty. So kind of very much what we've seen. Zen being at the top, New being like kind of like the premier deck to target Zen, and then a bunch of other decks that like try to beat Zen and can do so sometimes.
Not surprising, right? Like all of these decks are just like kind of the same thing. Nothing out of the ordinary has been winning any of the national championships this week.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I think there was like some really, really crazy stats on Zen though, if you looked at the data. He won, I believe he won a third of all of the nationals, which is a lot. At Canadian Nationals, I believe 20% of Zen players converted to top 8. So like 1 in 5 people who took Zen to the event top aided, and he's like also the most represented deck, which is just kind of gross, honestly. And I think that the like aggregate data for all of nationals is similar. I think he's like somewhere around like 16 of people who took Zen to their nationals made top eight for like all nationals.
Wow, that's crazy. I guess that number gets lowered because of like US nationals with so many players in it too, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's so many players, but then there's also like proportional, right? It's all about the total, like the number of Zens in proportion to the total number of players. Um, but yeah, Zen just like having, I think, a very commanding performance throughout all of national season. And while New did kind of rise up and was able to start winning some events, it didn't really feel like she was pushing Zen's share down so much as she was just like also able to win some events while Zen just like continued to like run through the field regardless.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I feel as the new player is there was a big difference between the Zen players that were prepared for new and the Zen players that weren't prepared for new. And the Zen players that weren't prepared for new seems to be struggling against them, and the Zen players that were prepared for new seems to be doing fine against them.
Yeah, I think that once the Zen players get to the point of like understanding what news options are in any given spot, and then like either just like playing around them and making sure they have a good play, like regardless of what piece of disruption or what reaction or follow up they have to their attack, or in some spots maybe taking an educated choice of like I can beat everything but Siren's Call. There's 2 Siren's Call in the discard. I think that this is like the spot where I take a risk and just like hope that they don't have Siren's Call and like make them show me the Siren's Call. And if they don't have it, I'm just going to win from here. But I think as soon as the Zen start thinking in those terms where they're like aware of everything that New can do and kind of trying to navigate that, the matchup gets a lot closer. I don't think it's like New can't win. I think it's like a very close matchup, but I think that it's not. A lot of people are like, "Oh, I don't want to play New," and I'm like, I'm sitting at the event. I'm like, I don't want to play Zen. Like, I just don't want to play the mirror. I'd rather play against New than play against Zen. Like, not even that I think it's like that much better. Like, I think it's like also probably a 50-50. It's just at least it's like an interesting game, and I feel like I get to make decisions and like leverage some skill advantage. And I think that like if like the Zen's significantly better than the New, the Zen's gonna win. I think if the New's significantly better than the Zen, the New's probably gonna win. But I don't think the same is true for the Zen Mirror. I think the Zen Mirror is like, as long as both players are pretty competent, it will mostly be about the quality of draws.
Yeah, and you don't really get that many draw steps either, right? You get like 3 draw steps to try and find as much damage as possible.
Maybe I can talk about my top 8 match really briefly. I thought I was going to make top 4. I had this like thought of like, I think I can make semis here because I had transcended. I was at 27 life. I had all of my equipment and my mask is my traverse is online because I've transcended cheese in the deck. And my hand is like not the nuts, but it's like pretty good. Like I think I have like an Art of War, and I can easily push over like through the 11 damage through his equipment through the Zen state. Like it's like easily enough damage to like probably kill him or at least like take his whole hand and get him extremely low. And I can even if I blocked like all my equipment and use the equipment to make a Zen state, I can still kill him. Is like sort of like the math that I've done on the hand. I proceed to get double Art of Ward, then like levels all 3 modes, something like spinning wheel kick, descendant bonds, another spinning wheel kick, another descendant and bonds. I die. I give up all my equipment. I do defensive Art of War. I block with my whole hand. I make a Zen state like basically as soon as I can, and I just die through all of it. I think the turn was somewhere in the realm of like 51 to 57 damage. I'm not sure if I missed it. Like I'm not sure if I remember the exact sequence that he did, but it was like 51 to 57 damage. So yeah, sometimes the Zemir is like that. Very very well navigated, really cool turn. My opponent also made a Zen state. He did 51 to 57 damage and made a Zen state all at the same time because he got to do like I pitched to play my levels or he had already pitched to do something else, and he's like, I play my levels, in response I activate Zen, in response I activate Kasaya and make a Zen state levels all three modes. And I'm just like, whoa, this is crazy, because he just had like 3 chi in hand, so he could just, I don't know, like, I guess that's what you do when you have 3 chi. It makes sense. He also triple transcended, so he had like 3 resources floating anyways, and like another chi still in his hand. It's just like, okay.
Is this game was this game streamed? So can we watch it somewhere?
Nah, it's not streamed, unfortunately.
Oh man, that would have been insane to watch. Just like the Zen popping off and like making insane amounts of resources and killing you. That'd be kind of fun to watch.
Yeah, he like triple transcended, swung. He was playing Talishar. He swung his Talishar, then he's like, drop it up to 5, path will traveled, give it go again, some other transcend card. I'm like, oh man, this is so bad.
Oh yeah, nothing you can do when they draw the nuts, though, right?
Yeah, that is just kind of the Zen mirror sometimes. I really did think I was in a good spot, and I think in most game states I was, but yeah, apparently, I guess his hand, I guess he had to go off because like apparently his hand was triple chi, art of war, and a bonds piece. And he's just like, I guess I give my armor and try to win here, which I think is correct. But I guess sometimes the top 5 cards of your deck is like levels, another art of war, and 2 more bonds pieces, which is pretty good. Oh, and a spinning wheel kick. Pretty good.
Yeah, that is pretty good. Okay, I guess we can wrap up our discussion on Cadnats and move on to our BNR discussion.
Yeah, so this is kind of in line with what I was talking about. I was calling for maybe the band that I liked the idea of, but hadn't practiced at all, because why would you practice a band list that you have no control over? Was Blue 100 Wins, Blue Descendant, Blue Bonds. We didn't quite get that. We got blue and yellow bonds, but it is a similar idea of making multi bonds harder. What do you think about this change? Because after we got back from Cannats, we were hanging out at Nia's for a little bit before our flight. We played like 4 or 5 games of CC where we cut the blue bonds and just replaced it with like some random blue. I don't even remember. I think I was like, I didn't even take shifting winds out of my deck because I was just like, I don't know, like I just hadn't really put that much thought into it. And I drew shifting winds and I was like, this card's probably not good anymore with only 3 bonds in your deck. But yeah, I was playing like shifting winds, cut the 3 blue bonds for like biting breeze or something. What do you think of the bans? Do you think is Zen dead? Is Zen still good? What do you think of Zen with the bans?
Can I just start by shouting out one of our players from our locals, I guess?
Mm-hmm.
So Clay DeAngelis lost his last round for the win in Canadian Nationals. I think it was on stream, and he was playing like a slightly off meta Zen deck, and his list didn't have any blue or yellow bonds. It might have like 1 blue bonds.
I think he wanted to play another card and couldn't find the card that he wanted, so he just played 1 blue bonds.
Oh, I didn't know that part, but yeah, like he decided to not play yellow bonds and blue bonds, and he almost top aided Canadian Nationals. Like, I don't think these bans are gonna stop Zen from doing the disgusting turns, and honestly, I don't think this is gonna change Zen at all. Like, they're gonna remove 3 bonds, and now their pop off turns are just gonna be just always disgusting and never gonna be those times where like your opponent plays red descendant gust wave and then they go play blue bonds and you go, at least I don't take 2 more damage. Now it's always red bonds.
Yeah. I thought that this ban wouldn't do that much, and somehow it did even less than I thought it would do.
Yeah, like our practice games, like we didn't play that much, but like just to like kill some time, we were playing some like Zen new with these like changes, and like I don't think it changed anything. Like just like how the natural gameplay like came around, it's just like it didn't change much. And what's kind of funny is like now even if I hit my Bonds of Agony, they don't have blue bonds in hand. So like it's kind of harder to hit Bonds of Ancestry with my Bonds of Agony. which is kind of funny. It's not that relevant. But another thing that's like a little bit more relevant for my variant of new is that I play Gravekeepings to try and like push damage later in the game. Now my opponent doesn't have blue Bonds of Ancestry, so then I can't go Descendant blue Bonds blue for like three, like a 2 card 3, off of a new ability. So it's actually kind of harder to do damage back at them with my new hero ability, which is kind of annoying. Like I actually kind of don't like this banning because like it makes it harder for me to win against the Zen mirrors, or like, sorry, the Zen matchup. This is just like my own, like my personal take as a new player that cut Mask of Recurring Nightmares to try and beat Zen take. But yeah, it's I don't think this ban does anything for CC.
I think it does very little. I think that my experience so far playing the deck is that in the aggro matchups, it's basically zero change. Yeah, the matchup just doesn't last long enough for there being fewer bonds in your deck to really matter that much. And the deck just kind of still single bonds you a lot, and even sometimes double bonds you, because like you still get to play the Descendant Gustways, and you get to just tutor for stuff. So it's really not that hard to bonds. And maybe like the biggest change is that often instead of going double bonds into something, they go double bonds, banish either chase or they go single bonds, banish either chase or aspect, and then do the other. Then have the other piece, and then they just go like chase aspect, which ends up being like almost the same damage. I think that theoretically the deck has like a little bit less total damage in their deck. So like maybe some of the decks that play like a long game, like the more disruption heavy news and victors, get like a teeny bit of percentage points, but it's not a lot. And honestly, I think it was Ian, one of our locals, said to me just he's like, if fatigue's ever a problem for Zen and you were like actually worried about it, you could just play 1 or 2 Cosmic Awakenings. And I was just like, oh, you're so right. Like, it's just like you have this insane anti-fatigue tool that your deck's naturally really good at playing, and you're just like not even playing it currently. And it's just like, yeah, I guess it's like if I needed, I could like play 1 or 2. I don't know if it's even necessary. My gut feeling is kind of just like you can just like play the list that's on the Patreon or something close to like Pudding's initial list. I think Pudding's initial list just like didn't have blue bonds. I think you could just like play that list and be like reasonably happy. Maybe consider some amount of like this round's on me, CNC, and weakest links for the mirror. You probably don't want like full copies of all of them, but you can run like a few of some combination of those cards, and yeah, you'll be pretty happy. So I think if any of our listeners are like worried about their Zen deck or being like, oh, I don't know, like I've been prepping Zen and I've lost like my prep time or whatever, like just honestly just play Zen. You can look at the Patreon list, you can look at Pudding's like initial show match list and just like play that, and I think you'll be fine. Maybe make a couple tweaks and you're good. Zen is just so wildly powerful that I think where we landed by the end of the weekend was just that like so long as you have the right like 45 cards in your deck, the last like 15 kind of don't matter. Like there's just like a whole bunch of blues where it's just like I don't know, like blue Wind Chakra, blue Harmony of the Hunt, blue Biting Breeze. They're all like fine, and they all have different spots where they're good. But like the biggest thing is they're just like a blue that has go again, and like some of them block 3, some of them transcend earlier, some of them have like Art of War synergy or like whatever. But like it kind of doesn't really matter. Like they're just all like roughly interchangeable. They'll have like some spots where one is better, some spots where one is worse, and like as long as you have the core of the deck together, the deck is still just super strong.
Yeah, I think the one thing that is good about this banning is like now it's kind of hard to get like double bonds or single bonds comboed on turn 2 of the game. Like you attack them to try and deck them or something, or you just like attack them to try and like push some damage, and now they can't just block with bonds blue and you know go off on you on their first turn of the game. So that's like a slight plus.
Yeah, I think it will lower his consistency like a tiny bit. I just think it's
Not enough.
not enough in all the games, and not that I've played that many games since getting back from Canadian Nationals, but in the like maybe like 10 to 12 games I've seen, deck just feels mostly the same. So currently, I'm probably going to see if, like, what does my Pro Tour Amsterdam testing look like? I'm probably going to see if New or Victor get enough points for me to feel good about taking those decks, because I think they're the most likely to benefit from the ban, since like New could reasonably like run Zen out of threats or almost out of threats in a lot of games. So like maybe it matters there. I'm not really convinced that it does, but maybe. And maybe consider bringing New. And if not, then I'll just bring Zen, and I'll have worked on the New matchup a bunch, which helps me play Zen. So I think that like, yeah, that's kind of like the starting point, is like, do some of these decks get there, or are they like a little bit more attractive? But I think that if you're playing a deck that was like previously like not good enough into Zen, this band's not going to make you good enough. You know, like if you had like my Zen matchup was like not that good, but I was like 35 or 40%, like you're still going to be 35 or 40%. Most likely, if I had to guess, like kind of almost regardless of the deck. I don't think it's like shifting that much. I think it's just these decks that have a lot of disruption can take them long, like maybe get like a couple of percentage points at most.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Yeah, Zen's still good. You know what's kind of funny? So my big game plan against Zen with my new deck was to use Stonewall Gauntlet to prevent my opponent from going double bonds turns. This card kind of sucks now because my opponent can't double bonds me anymore. It's kind of funny because like I'm like playing Stonewall Gauntlet as my arm piece and new to beat Zen by like forcing them to play like inoptimal turns over and over again. And then now my opponent like just doesn't have the double bond turns. Like their natural like game plan is like, man, now I need a different arm piece and I need a different game plan to try and like run them out of threats. It's kind of annoying. I kind of hate this ban. Like for my personal build of new, it kind of sucks for me. Ugh.
I'm kind of not a fan. I'm mostly not of a fan because I was hoping for a little bit more of a shakeup. It's possible that even the post that I had about like with the 100 wins and the descending gustways might have not been enough after having like played with no blue bonds and seen how little that matters. I think it would help like a little bit more because you're like lowering the blue combo starter density in the deck, which I think hurts to some degree. But honestly, like at this point, I kind of feel like Stride and Art of War are kind of the problems. Maybe just like Art of War is the biggest problem, honestly.
I think the leg piece is the easiest card to ban from the deck.
Yeah, I think if they want to do a soft band, it should be Stride.
Yeah, because like the leg piece is the thing that like every time they block with the leg, it's like so often they block with the leg piece, not because they want to block, but they want the crouching tiger.
Yeah,
It's like they're like block this attack for 6. Think. Actually, I'm gonna give you the leg piece for 7 as well. And they're like, okay, I guess I'm dead if you're giving me the leg piece for no block value and you just want the crouching tiger. And then just go Art of War, I get an extra card. Transcend Art of War, I get an extra card. I'm like, wow, this is fair.
I did this against a Prism opponent. They won the die roll. They went second, which I think is correct. And I had like Arsenal and Art of War, and then they swung a Herald at me, and I'm like, I have the Blanche to pop them, but if they don't have like the blue and the second Herald, they're not gonna swing a second Herald. So I think the play is to block Strides with my Blanche and pop them. And if they send the blue in the second, they have the blue in the second Herald, then like whatever, I lose one more life. Like fine, I'm willing to play towards that. And then I just like pop them with the Strides, and they're just like, yeah, go. They're like super sad. Yeah, I think just like as a general note, I don't I'm starting to get tired of I think the gameplay pattern that I dislike the most from Zen is the equipment that you block with and then get a bunch of offensive power. Just feels so bad because it creates these game states where it's like I shouldn't attack them, because if I attack them, they're just gonna like put their headpiece and their boots on the table and draw 2 cards. And I just think that like in a game where the whole goal is attacking the other person, just creating these spots where like you just die if you attack them, but you also can't win the game if you don't attack them is just like I don't know. It feels bad, man.
It does feel bad.
It's like not very healthy.
I guess this is a good time to give a really quick, not a warning, but I guess an advice is if you are gonna play new into Zen, if you cannot beat them picking up a chi from their deck and you know this, just don't attack them and they don't get the chi in their hand.
hmm
If they happen to have two transcend cards in their hand, you're dead anyways. So like sometimes even if it's like meaning that you IP yourself, it might be better to not attack them so they can't like, activate Zen's ability and Art of War you to death. So that's a big brain play that you should think about. Just don't throw your leave note witness for no reason because they'll just send two equipment at you and kill you.
Yeah, I think this actually applies to a lot more matchups than just this. Like, I've had this come up in the Zen Mirror too, where like usually I'm like already kind of losing these games regardless, but I've had like mirrors where like I brick on an all red hand. And I'm just like, man, the best thing I can do with this hand is block, and then I have the decision of like, do I block with this red 100 wins for 2, or do I send it in for 3? And all of your conventional Fab wisdoms, like you take the bigger number, you do the 3, don't do the 3 if they have all their equipment on board because they're just going to give you their equipment and explode you. Like you're just better off blocking for 2 and hoping that they can't do enough, and then you get to use your equipment and kill them. It's like a little bit stupid, but I think this comes up in like the mirror. I think it comes up in basically like every matchup. Is just like be aware that you are potentially making their turn much more powerful when you attack them, and if you have an attack that's just like kind of so, like maybe just don't send it,
Yeah,
which feels bad. I think it's like really crappy gameplay. Actually, I don't like it.
yeah, unfortunate.
Yeah, I think it's okay for there to be like offensive leaning equipment. I just like it more when it's like Mask of Pouncing Links or like Bullseye Bracers or something. I think the dynamic of like I block with this and I draw a card is just like really unpleasant.
Okay, I think we talked about Zen enough. Do you want to just quickly touch on the Blitz and the Living Legend bannings?
Sure. So what are the VNR changes for Blitz and Living Legend?
So I think Blitz, it is very relevant actually. The Crown of Seeds is now banned for the Earth heroes that are coming out in Rosetta. I think that makes sense. But most importantly, Aether Wildfire and Aether Flare is now banned in Blitz. And I think this is because Blaze is a top contender for being the best hero in the format. Um I haven't played with Blaze or against Blaze because I haven't played that much Blitz, but from what I've heard, she is the one of the strongest Blitz heroes, and because of her like exclusivity on how to get her, I feel like these are good bans before the skirmish seasons come up and basically make these tournaments about if you've found a blaze or bought a blaze before. And I kind of really like these changes of like banning cards for a hero that's like kind of hard to get and making them like removing that issue before any relevant blitz event comes up.
Yeah. I think just like the hero card itself being super expensive for like one of the better decks in the format is not really ideal.
And I think one more other thing would be the Living Legend change. So, Living Legend Channel Lake Frigid is unrestricted now. And in the article, they're talking about how like Zen is very powerful, how aggro decks are very powerful, and they wanted to give Icelander a new tool to be able to like, you know, make the games a little bit slower. And also that they're talking about how Star of the Show isn't that much of a problem anymore because they banned enough cards for him, which is kind of a funny statement to make.
Yeah, definitely a pretty funny statement to make. I'm gonna be honest. I haven't played any Living Legend. I kind of doubt Icelander's still good though. Like Prism is in that format, and while she's like not great into the aggro deck, she's like still kind of relevant because she's really strong, and you just basically auto lose to Prism. I'm pretty sure that Icelander can never beat Starvo. That sounds cursed. Like the Guardian matchup was like good for Icelander, but it was good by like a small margin. And I think Starvo just like getting the +2 and go again over and over again sounds really hard to beat, and the Dominate just sounds really good into Iyslander. He still has Winter's Wail as well. And then even some of the aggro decks, like, are you beating Zen? I don't know. I'm not really sure that you do. He has 30 blues in his deck, and he gets to play stubby hammers, and just like it's like, oh no, my 50 damage turn is like 25 damage turn when you're trying to channel like Frigid Me, and like that's just so crushing as Iyslander. Like the games where you like channel like Frigid and they do like over 15 damage, you're like, how do I win this game? And I think that Zen's just gonna be like so easily do that if I had to guess, but I haven't tested.
Doesn't Zen and like the ninjas in Living Legend have access to Belittle?
Yep. Yep, there's also that. They also have Belittle Minnowism. So like yeah, like Zen can just play like blue Belittle with like blue Minnowism to just like go even more plus resources, and just like how do you win? You're like Iyslander and you Aether Ice Vein Zen, and he's just like transcend. I get 2 resources, pay 2, and you're just like, oh no, it's so over.
Yeah, even in the Fi meta back in the day with Iyslander Fi, like I remember my opponent having like 3 or 4 turns of Channel Lake Frigid up, and as long as you drew Belittle, like it kind of didn't matter that they had the Channel Lake Frigid.
Yeah, like you had like a surprising amount of play into those games, and I think that Belittle Phi was like actually slightly favored into Iyslander. So just like by extension, I have to imagine that Zen is good into Iyslander with like 0 games. But yeah. That being said, Living Legend for skirmish season is kind of sick. I don't know if we are actually able to play it locally. People told me it's all Blitz. I don't know if that's true. Um, I hope it's not though, because I kind of want to play some Living Legend format. It sounds like a lot of fun. I wish that they would. Well, I would like to see them do more with this format, and I think this is a great first step of just like getting some more events, getting some data, maybe being able to work on the BNR and balance it a little bit more, and maybe get it to a point where we can do like a calling or something. I think CC will and should be the main format of Flesh and Blood, but I think that having Living Legend like kind of mature into its own format would be really really cool to see, and honestly, just like having a fairly big LL format event now and then just sounds kind of fun.
I just realized Starvo is getting more cards with Rosetta coming out.
Yeah, when your class identity is like I care about blues and 3 cost stuff, and I care about 3 different elements of cards, like you get cards a lot, and I care about guardian cards. You just get so many options. Like you just like always get cards.
That's kind of sweet. But I do kind of want to play Chain again. Chain was like the first deck I started playing with, and that deck was great too.
Do you know what Starvo can do to chain?
What? What can it do?
You can run Goliath Gauntlet and Smack to Reality. And if you Starvo Fuse Smack to Reality and you pop Goliath Gauntlet, it comes in for 13 Dominate, and it has the Tower effect, which destroys all their auras if it hits.
Oh, it can kill all the auras? Like all my tokens die?
Yeah, it can kill all your Soul Shackles.
That's toxic.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked. You do have a huge fridge, so like maybe it's okay, but it's pretty
The fridge is only 6 + 2 + 2 + 1. That's not enough.
you can give a card from
That's
hand.
11. That's only 11. That's not 13.
Yeah, but you can give a card from hand.
But the whole point of a fridge is so you don't have to lose a card in hand.
Well, it's better than not being able to block it and just losing the game.
How is Carrion Husk not good enough?
13 big number, especially when it's a hit effect and not a crush effect.
Man, and if I got pummeled after that, after blocking it out, I'll be so mad. Because like that's possible too, right?
Yeah, I guess technically they have 3 elemental cards, smack, and 3 blue elemental cards, smack, and a pummel. Yeah.
Okay, maybe I just go and play Starvo. I still have the Starvo deck put together somewhere in my room, so we can get that done.
I'll probably play Lexi for Living Legend if I get to. I know Brody won the Celebrational at the start of the year, which had Living Legend in it, on Lexi. So Living Legend looks sweet. You can play a lot of these like OG heroes that at this point are like kind of nostalgic, because a lot of those heroes are like the heroes that we started playing the game with, and being able to go and play them with like all the new cards and in like a fully powered up format is honestly kind of appealing. It sounds like a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah. And you can always just play like non-living legend hero, right? Like, it doesn't have to be from a like a rotated hero essentially.
Hey Jay, why don't you play new?
Ooh, that's kind of interesting.
I'm pretty sure it's not good enough, but it is interesting.
Whoa, Yuki, you never know. News has options. That's why new is good.
It's true.
Yeah, look, it probably will take like 200 games to try and like perfect it, but like, look, I can probably get it to 50% against a lot of these decks.
Yeah, it's true. Lexi seems kind of hard for you.
Yeah, that deck doesn't play blues.
It does.
What does it play?
Blue infecting shot, blue sleep dart, blue fatigue shot.
So there's
All these
a
blues that you can't play.
yeah, there's a clause on that on arrows that says you must have a bow to fire it, and surprisingly, new doesn't hold a bow.
Yeah, but Lexi still plays blues.
I guess we can sirens call it. You're right. That is a pretty big plus.
Yeah. She plays blues, but yeah, you can't steal any of them. I'm pretty sure.
I can play knock the death whistle if you play that.
No, it's an Azalea spec.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I can play knock the death whistle against Azalea, and it's kind of funny to do so. It doesn't do anything, but it's kind of funny.
Well, it lets you reload.
It lets you shuffle.
It lets you shuffle. That's right. You can search your deck for an arrow.
So bad, so funny.
Anyways, I'm pretty excited for Amsterdam. I wish the meta was a little more exciting. I feel like it's going to be very much the same thing, and I think that a lot of people have kind of already figured this out. But yeah, I like playing Pro Tours. They're fun. I like getting to go travel and see my friends. That'll be fun. This draft format is still sweet, and who knows? Maybe there is some chance I find something besides Zen that's not embarrassing to register. I'm still kind of coping because honestly, at this point, I don't think I'm going to play that much more Zen as practice. Like maybe brush up a couple matchups. So I think in the next while, I'm just going to like try other stuff and see if I can find something cool. And if I can't, then I just play Zen and call it good enough. I'm kind of over testing that much for this format, which is like maybe not a good attitude. Maybe I'm giving up some percentage points, but I just feel like everything I've tried in the Zen mirror, I'm just like, I don't know if any of this matters. Like you just draw good and then you win is kind of what it feels like, and then you don't draw good and you lose, and like you can like bring in these cards and then you're just like, I can't tell if this card does anything or not. Like like I don't know, like it's like maybe I can bring in like, is it like territorial domain, the one, the 0 for 5 defense reaction. If you made a tiger, you're like, yeah, I can get like 5 block value out of this, but then it's just like you like overkill by 10 or are overkilled by 10, and it's like, did this 5-point card matter? Like I don't think it did anything. So the Zenmir is really weird like that. I think the games are just like so explosive that like it's very hard to like actually properly evaluate if like, I don't know, like changing up one of your blues is like a meaningful percentage change.
Well, you should try my new list. Like the no mask of recurring nightmares, like the traverse version of new.
Okay, I'll try that. New is like one of the decks that I would like to bring to this event. Maybe she's like just enough better that I can bring new instead and just have a good time on new. Who knows? Maybe Bolton is cool. I think Bolton's new equipment seems pretty good.
Oh, is the Bolton's whatever deck is legal for Amsterdam?
Yeah, I think it's out like today. Actually, we're recording on Friday the 12th. I think today is the release day for that deck, so it is open. So maybe the Bolton players will figure something out. I've played Bolton before. I like that hero. He's pretty cool. Maybe he can do something sick.
Yeah, you top aided with Bolton before, right?
Yeah.
Sick.
I don't know if he has what it takes, but like maybe the armor's pretty. I don't know. I'm honestly kind of just like, yeah, I'm just gonna have fun this Pro Tour and not worry too much about it because like the format's kind of a mess, and just, yeah, I've accepted it for what it is.
That's fair. That's fair.
Go flip some coins.
Sorry, I'm looking at the upcoming product releases right now. When is the Pro Tour? Is it like which date is it? Do you know?
26th, 27th, 28th, I believe.
Of July? I see, I see. I was gonna say like, oh, Armory Deck Azalea is coming out August 2nd. Is that out for the Pro
No,
Tour? And I guess the answer is no.
that is sad. Man, I wish I could just play Azalea for this event. That'd be so cool. Azalea is, I don't know.
You need to listen to Brody's word on that one.
What's that?
He basically said, I was playing Azalea so much I didn't really consider Zen. And then he played Zen one event and was like, why wasn't I playing Zen all this time?
Yeah. Man, Eric Keelback at our draft camp made a very funny joke where he was saying, Brody's not even playing Azalea. Brody's playing Zen. That's like the first horseman of the apocalypse. I also recently saw Peter Budinsek. Oh, I don't know how to say his last name. Peter, well-known Kano player, say that he is in his I'm just gonna play the best deck arc, and he posted some like I think it was like Alpha Clash Hero that I'm not familiar with because I don't know that game, and he also posted a picture of Zen, and I was just like, this is like the same thing. Brody's not playing Azalea. Peter's not playing Kano. It's over.
Zen's too good.
Yeah. Deck is real good. Um, he what is his living legend points? He's at like 1,000,000 living legend points. He's been out for like a month. I'm gonna look this up. It's a little bit crazy. They I think they did something like cut the living legend points in half for national season this year, or like something like that. They reduced it a bunch. Zen is already at 445 LL points.
Yeah, that's
He's like halfway to LL, and all we've had is a single Nat season. It's crazy.
yeah, it is crazy. It is crazy. At least Zen is gonna be disappearing soon. Do you know a hero that I am gonna be sad when it rotates away or becomes living legend?
New?
No, Dash, Inventor Extraordinaire.
Yeah, she's creeping up there. She's at 910. She got 100 points this season. She is not long for this world. Dash seems to just like always pick up a couple wins here and there every season, no matter what. And it's like never more than that. It's never like she's not dominating, but she's just like, yeah, I'll just randomly like spike a calling or a nationals or win some ProQuest events despite not being like the best deck in that ProQuest season, still like pick up some wins. She's just like, real middle of the road.
Yeah, she's fine.
Yeah, she's just kind of always exactly fine. It's kind of impressive. I feel like Dash is almost like maybe like the most well balanced hero they've made, where she's just like always been reasonable, hasn't really been oppressive aside from like maybe like right after Crucible, when I think there was like a mid-range item dash deck that was like supposedly very good. It's actually like I was just getting into the game during that time, so I didn't really play with it very much. But I think like Matt Rogers won a bunch of events with that deck, and she was kind of tier zero. But then Monarch came out and that shifted, and since then she's just been like perfectly fine the whole time.
Yeah, she's like the hero that's like that. It kind of represents Flesh and Blood in a lot of ways. Like you can do a lot of different things. You can block, you can attack, you can play items and try and do some item things, and it's just like it's the most interesting hero. I think. I love Dash. I still love my Dash deck. It's the only deck that I can run Titanium Bulbo and not feel like I'm inting.
I don't know if I find Dash interesting. My biggest thing is I've always found her kind of plain, but I do see the appeal, and I do agree that she kind of encapsulates Flesh and Blood really well. So yeah, soon we will be seeing her leave the format, I guess.
No way she can compete with the other living legends though. uh
What, you don't want to play Dash against Stubbies then?
or like Starvo or Lexi or Icelander or Dromai or Oldham or Prism or Briar or Chain. Yeah, nope, none of them.
But you could pistol for 2.
Oh, what? Wait, but with Purifier, it's for 3, Yuki.
It's true. That's like I was gonna say that's like Dawnblade, but it costs you 2 resources.
Yeah.
All right. I think we've rambled quite a bit at this point. Any last thoughts, or should we wrap up the episode?
Nah, let's just wrap it up now.
Thanks everyone for listening. Hopefully this was entertaining or helpful to you. If you're going to Amsterdam, best of luck. Let us know what your thoughts are about the format. Do you agree with us? Is it just going to be the Zen show, or do you think these bands open up space for some other hero? I'd love to hear which hero if you have predictions about that, but also like it's a pro tour, and if you don't want to say that, that's totally fair. I know a lot of people like to play their cards close to their chest, and I don't blame them. Anyways, that's going to wrap us up. Thanks for listening. If you want to get in touch with us, you can find us on social media. Jay and I are both on Twitter. Jay is at Ueda J, and I'm at Yukili Bender. You can also email questions and feedback to us directly at onthebobble@gmail.com. Additionally, we have a Patreon Discord that all of our patrons get access to, where we, post new content, post our draft decks, and just like have discussion channels for draft and CC. So if you want to check that out, you can go to patreon.com/onthebobble. Shout out to our patrons. Thank you. We really appreciate what you do and that you give back to the show. I realize that we forgot the Patreon shout out at the start. So thank you to all of our patrons. We really do appreciate you. And thank you all for listening. I hope that you have good luck at Pro Tour if you go, and if not, enjoy your summer. It's sort of it's kind of like a bit of a chill summer. We get to relax a bit, get to play some skirmish in August, and then get a new set.